Hey, welcome back. It's Jason from Pro Guitar Studio. Today we're going to take a look at a really fun fingerpicking pattern. For those of you who have done Travis picking before, this will just work in right with that. If you've never done Travis picking, this might feel a little challenging, but a lot of fun to check out either way. And the cool thing about what you just heard is I'm doing a pattern where my thumb is doing, we'll say like a quarter note pattern, and my ring, middle, and index finger are doing I guess we'll say 3-note pattern, so 3/8 notes. So to break that down even further, essentially our fingers picking the thinner string, so our ring, middle, and index finger, we're going to do a pattern that lasts for a beat and a half, okay? So basically 3/8 notes, where the thumb is going to do a pattern that lasts for 2 beats, okay? But towards the end, I'm going to get into an easier way, okay? So keep in mind, I'll put that in the notes below. So if you want the simplified sort of pattern that stays consistent, do that. The more challenging pattern changes every time we change chords. The finger picking pattern will change. So it gets a little bit weird if you're not used to this. But if you just want to start nice and easy, if you go to the link I put in the video, you'll be able to see the easier formation of the pattern, which basically just cuts the last note out and lets it ring out for a full quarter note instead of adding another note on top, okay? And this will make sense once you watch through the video. So have some fun with this. Like I said, it's challenging, so don't worry if you can't get this right away, just keep coming at this. Starting off here, I'm going to play a capo on fret number 3. I just think it sounds really good here. You can do this without a capo as well. And I'm going to play a C chord, but I'm going to add the pinky finger on the first string. Now, if you don't know how to play a C chord, this probably is not the exercise for you right now, but I'll just be right up front about that, just so you know where you should be. So with that C chord, adding the pinky finger on, it's still called a C, but it will sort of bring up the high end on this chord as well, okay? So when we play this pattern, we're going to start off with just getting the thumb motion going. So the quarter notes, we're going to bounce between string 5, 4 with our thumb. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that basically is, I guess we can say, a pattern that lasts for 4/8 notes. So I know I originally said 3 against 2, but we can call it 4 against 3, I guess, if you want to look at eighth notes that way. So it's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now, my other fingers, this is where it gets challenging. So you want to separate this at first to get comfortable. I'm using my ring finger on the first string. I know it's hard to see that. My middle finger's in the way. So ring finger, there, that's probably better. On string 1, my middle finger string 2, and index finger string 3. So I'm doing ring, middle, index over and over. The hard thing here is actually just keep that pattern going the whole time while the thumb is doing this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and like that, and my fingers are going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So it's really offset because where these notes land will change every time, right? So the first chord C, I do this pattern 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6th time it's just one note, the ring finger, okay? But it's sort of hard to count like that. If you think of the thumb as doing 1, 2, 3, 4. So this pattern is played 4 times. And then it switches to an E minor, okay? Now, just again to start off with that first chord, it sounds like this. If we add both fingers together. Oh, here we go. Slow it down again. It's really hard for me to do slow, but you get the idea. Try one more time. And as you start working this, you'll see why it is hard to do slow. It's a weird pattern. As you're first starting, slow might make it easier, but once you get comfortable with it, for me, playing it faster is a lot easier. Okay, then the last note comes in after that thumb. All right, now the E minor chord, I basically just take off my ring finger and index finger. So just keeping those 2 fingers on. It's an E minor with the 3rd fret on the first string as well. Now you could play the full 3-finger version, like index and middle finger on string number 5 and 4. But I try not to hit that 5th string, so it's okay because we're finger picking. So you could, if you wanted to make it easy on yourself, you could just repeat that first pattern where you start off on the first string. The only thing different is I choose to change my root note to the 6th string instead of the 5th. So thumb goes string 6, 4, 6, 4, 6, 4, 6, 4. Now, the thing is, when the recording that I did though, because the last note on the C was the ring finger there, when I go to E minor, it starts off with the middle finger. So in that rolling pattern, the middle finger and the thumb So it sounds really cool once you get it going. It is definitely a finger twister. And also, when you think about it, it throws me right off if I think about it. So years ago when I did this kind of pattern, I definitely had to think about it a lot. I worked on it for a long time, trying to get the finger motions going. But once it was under my fingers, I tried to think when I do it and just let the fingers do the actual work. And that's where the challenge is right now, trying to explain this to you on that second part. But if we go through the C chord again, E minor starts on the 2nd string. So on the E minor, it's like middle index ring, middle index ring, middle index ring. And it stops with the middle finger. And when it goes back around, it's index, ring, middle, index, ring, middle. So a little awkward as you get going through it, but if I go back just a second and we do the same pattern in both, we're gonna get this. And then so slow it down. And then E minor. C. E minor, sorry. All right. So with that pattern, makes it a bit easier. But here's the way I did it. So hopefully you get the idea there. It definitely is a challenge to get your fingers moving with that. Do it nice and slowly. And really what you're just trying to do, like I said again, it's like 4 against 3, or 2 quarter notes against 3 eighth notes, okay? Now, those are the first 2 chords. If you want to complete it, the second progression I did was an F major 7. So 3rd fret string 5, 3rd fret string 4, 2nd fret string 3, and 1st fret string 2. It's going to start with our middle finger. And then A minor is with our index finger. And then we go back to an F. And because we ended up with our index finger there, our ring finger is going to come again. And then our middle finger on the G. And then technically if you went back to the start, it would start with your index finger if you're truly just cycling through that. But like I said, to take the easier way, just keep that pattern going where you basically and repeat the same thing on the next chord. Right now, one easy thing you could do, and this would make it easier in the long run, is if you cut that last melody note out and then repeat the pattern. So if I went through like this, and then E minor, start with our ring finger again. So that's a much easier beginner-friendly way to do it. So basically, your melody note would be ring, middle, index, 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 ring, middle, index. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 times for the pattern, and then you have basically the last note lasts for a full quarter note instead of an eighth note. And again, like I said, it's easier to sort of grasp that with your fingers instead of always swapping. So like, okay, versus the original way I have it in the recording. And then it flips into a different finger, right? So it doesn't stay consistent that way. Definitely a challenge. If you've done finger picking for a while and you want something to challenge yourself, you can try the way I did it there. And that's just to get the fingers rolling, right? But to keep an easier pattern is ring, middle, index 5 times with your right hand or picking hand. And then the thumb, index, sorry, thumb, 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 thumb. So basically bouncing back and forth 4 times. So if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe for more videos just like this. And I know this one's a challenging one, but definitely a good challenge if you've done finger picking before. And don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed. I'll see you later.